Hello, math students. Today we are going to kind of put together the things that we've been working on just to review everything, make sure that we're okay with all of these formulas that we've talked about and solving for a missing dimension. So when we're talking about cylinders and cones, if you have a cylinder and a cone that have the same dimensions, the same area of the base, so that means the same radius, the same height, if those things match, I want to know how the volumes compare. So which one has the greater volume? Clearly, even from the two pictures that you can see on the screen right now, the cylinder is going to have the greater volume. How much greater? Now, if you remember, we talked about this. It's actually 3 times as much. So it would take 3 cones to fill up one of those cylinders. Or we could say that the cone is 1/3 as much as the cylinder. So just a quick refresher. So remember, the volume of a cylinder, it's the same as the volume of a prism. It's the area of the base times the height. So when we make this more specific for a cylinder in particular, instead of this capital B right here, which means the area of the base, the area of the circle is going to be pi r squared, and then we would still have the height. For a cone, again, this is the same as a pyramid we've talked about. When I do this, I would say that the volume is going to be 1/3. Instead of that capital B right there, the area of the base, that's pi r squared, and then the height. So for these problems, you're going to want to have a calculator handy, and I've got to go grab one right now. So to find these volumes, these are both cylinders. I would start every single problem in this unit with the formula that you're using. So this is going to be V equals pi r squared h. So we're going to have that the volume is going to be pi times 10 squared, because the radius is 10, times the height, which is 6. Now, if you like to do some of this stuff in your head, you'd go 10 squared, well, that's 100, times 6. As an exact answer, this is going to be 600 pi. But we do want to round to the nearest tenth. So when I take 600 and multiply it by pi, I'm going to get this. I'm going to use a squiggly equal sign to say that I'm rounding. 1884.9555592. It's going to keep on going. So remember, I'm worried about this place right here. So I look at this 5. That is big enough to make it round up. When that rounds up, now I want you to look at this part, like 4.9. When that rounds up, it's going to be 5.0. In this one, they didn't put this 0.0, but remember, we've talked about this. I would really like it to look like this. To say that I actually rounded to the nearest tenth. And remember, volume labels are always going to be cubic units. This is going to be cubic feet. In the second problem, the tricky part that you have to be careful of is that they tell you the diameter. The radius is the number that I really want. The radius is 8 meters. So when I do this one now, volume equals pi r squared h. So this is the next step that I'm going to write down, is the step that I said you don't really have to write it down. I like to have the exact answer there also, but if you just want to go ahead and do this on your calculator, I do recommend that you take care of your numbers first. So 8 squared is going to be 64 times 12. If you want to just get that number and multiply it by pi right away, you certainly can. As an exact answer, I've got 768 pi. So I would just have to take that number times pi, and that's going to give me rounded 2412, and that will round to be 0.7. My label will be cubic meters. For cones, we have the 1/3 in there. I'm going to do one of these with a 1/3 and do one of them with a dividing by 3, so you can see both ways and decide which way you like better. For the first one, let's do the 1/3. right? The pi r squared h is the same as the cylinder. 1/3 is because it comes to a point, it's a cone. So my volume is gonna be 1/3 pi, the radius is 12, that's gonna get squared, and the height is 24. Now, I have talked a little bit about doing some simplifying. Like I could take that 1/3 and multiply it by the 24 to get an 8 right there. However, you cannot use the 1/3 with the 12 because the 12 has to get squared first. So if I know that these are going to be big numbers anyway, if I know that I'm going to have to use a calculator, you don't really have to do that simplifying stuff in your head. You could just do 12 squared, which is 144, times 24, and then just divide that by 3. And as an exact answer right now, I've got 1152 pi. And again, I don't care if you write that part down. Now I'm just going to multiply that by pi, and my answer is going to be 3619.1. And my label on this is going to be cubic kilometers. In the second problem here, again, they're giving you a diameter. So you would have to know that the radius is going to be 4. This one I'm going to do with the dividing by 3 instead of the 1/3. Let me show you what this looks like. This is just another way to write this formula. So I could say pi r squared h divided by 3. Right? That's the same as multiplying by 1/3. It's taking the cylinder volume and dividing by 3. So I'm going to have pi times 4 squared times 10 and divide by 3. Now, 4 squared is 16. That's not divisible by 3. 10, not divisible by 3. So there's really not a nice, easy way to simplify this and get a nice answer at this point. So I would do the 4 squared is 16. 16 times 10 is 160. I would honestly not write 160 over 3 times pi. That to me doesn't seem like it's a very nice answer anyway. So as long as I'm using my calculator, I might as well just go ahead and just get this in my calculator right away. So I had 160 divided by 3 and then times pi. This answer, rounded, will be 167 point, it's 0.55, which really will round up to 0.6. And this is in cubic centimeters. Now, here's what we did yesterday. Finding a missing dimension and rounding to the nearest whole number. These numbers are going to be nice answers. So in the first one, I'm still going to start with my formula. V equals pi r squared h. Now let's just put the stuff in that we know. The V is going to be 1385.4. There's a pi. The radius is 7. And the height is what I don't know. If you want to rewrite this and turn this right here until 49, write down 49 pi and then do that division, that's perfectly fine. If you just wanted to divide by 49 and divide by pi right away, I'm okay with that also. I am going to show that extra stuff to make sure that we're as clear as possible in a video, but that would be 49. There's my pi, there's my h. So I'm going to divide by 49 and divide by pi, make sure that is 2 separate divisions. So I'm going to have that 1385.4 divide by 49 and then divide by pi. The answer that I have here for the height is 8.9997, blah, blah, blah. It's going to keep on going. That is really, really close to 9. That means that my height is going to be 9 yards. Notice it's just yards, not cubic yards, not square yards, just regular yards because it's a measurement. For a cone, we have V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. The volume is this 314.2.
Haley Peterson, please report to the main office. Haley Peterson, please report to the main office. Thank you.
I'm really sorry for that. So when I have this all written out now, you can simplify. I didn't simplify on the earlier problem, so I'm going to simplify on this one. I'm going to take this 1/3 right here and that 12, and they're on the same side. I'm just simplifying those numbers. So I'm going to have 314.2. 1/3 of 12 is 4. I still have the pi, I still have the r squared. And now I would have to divide by 4 and divide by pi. So 314.2 divided by 4 divided by pi gives me 25.00 something equals r squared. Please don't think you're done right now. I don't want r squared, I just want r. So to get rid of a square, I would use a square root on both sides. And the square root of 25 is 5. You can do that on calculator, but you probably also already know that in your head. So that's going to be 5 inches for my radius. Now for these last two, the cylinder, I'm looking for the diameter. Formula does not have a diameter in it. So I'm going to have to find the radius and then do another step to find the diameter. So cylinder, pi r squared h. The volume is 37.7. I don't know the r. And the height is 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by the pi and by the 3. Remember, two separate divisions. So 37.7 divided by 3 and then divided by pi gives me 4.0000, really close. But again, that's r squared. That's not r. So I would still have to take a square root. And the square root of 4 is 2. Not just because it's cutting it in half. It's because 2 times 2 gives me 4. So the radius is 2, but if you said that this answer was 2, you'd be wrong. The diameter is twice as big, which is 4. This is measured in centimeters, so it's going to be 4 centimeters. I want you to be really careful here to not think that because we had a 4 right here and a 4 right here, that those two just kind of, that's why we got that answer. We took a square root and then we multiplied by 2. Two very different things. It just happens on these numbers to work out well. All right, for this last problem, the diameter of the cone is 6 feet, which means that the radius is 3 feet. So my formula, V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. There's my pi. The radius is 3 squared. I don't know the height. Now remember, I can't do the simplifying with the 1/3 and the 3, but 3 squared is 9. So if you wanted to, you could certainly simplify this. 1/3 times 9 would just give me 3. So I could divide by 3 pi. And I never put the volume number in there. Let's change that. This is really going to be 84.8 divided by 3 pi. So 84.8 divided by 3 and divided by pi gives me 8.997. That really gives me 9 for a height. Okay. If you need to go back and watch the video from yesterday just to see those examples again, you certainly can. Today, you are going to be doing the evens from the missing dimensions worksheet. So you did the odds. I'm sorry, we already did the evens. Oh my goodness, I have all kinds of mistakes today, huh? This is going to be the odds. We already did the evens. Do the odds to finish up that worksheet. Make sure that you check it with the key in Schoology. And when you're all done, take the formative. We didn't have a formative yesterday. Make sure that you take the formative today. If you need any help, let me know.